When you're the champion, I don't think you have a choice.
What are your thoughts there with Jon and Tom?
You're the champion, defend your belt. It's a responsibility. I know your resume is incredible. What you've done is incredible. You're considered the greatest of all time. Yeah, we get that. So if you don't want to fight, just retire. You're done. I don't want to throw shade on him. He's done great things, but when you're the champion, I don't think you have a choice. When you've got an interim champ to stand in there waiting for.
It seems Jon Jones's retirement is already over, as he now has his sights set back on Tom Aspinall just 2 weeks after stepping away from the sport. The former two-division champion has made it clear he's not finished. Not with the possibility of a historic fight at the White House in play, what initially felt like a final farewell now appears to have been just a brief pause. His re-entry into the PED testing pool, the first formal step toward a UFC return, coincides with Donald Trump's bold claim of hosting a UFC fight at the White House, reigniting speculation and, for many fans, confirming what they've long believed. Jon Jones isn't done until he decides it's over on his own
Johnson,
terms.
host of Going Ringside Now. Jon Jones may be coming out of retirement for the chance to be involved in the White House UFC fight on the next 4th of July. Jon Bones Jones putting on X that, he's re-entered the testing pool. This only lasted about 2 weeks.
Standing before a rally in Iowa, Trump declared his intentions for the event. We're going to have a UFC fight on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. Dana's going to do it. That off-the-cuff promise instantly sent shockwaves through the MMA world, as no previous president has ever linked national pride to the UFC in such a symbolic and grand manner. Now 79 and serving again as the 47th president, Trump plans to make MMA and its top stars the centerpiece of America's 250th anniversary celebrations on July 4, 2026. In his view, nothing embodies American dominance more than Jon Jones fighting on the White House lawn, surrounded by a live crowd of 2,500 and millions more.
How's that even a thing? Is that a thing? Is that allowed? How is Donald even allowed to do that? What kind of gangster? Chandler versus McGregor, kind of gangster. Aspinall, Jon Jones wants to fight on it. Classic. Back in the testing pool after 2 weeks. Bro is a troll and a half. He's not having his title back. They just can't be happy. Ulberg Roundtree would be sick. Strickland Adesanya. Derek Lewis.
Social media activity since the announcement suggests he was either already in the loop or seized the opportunity the moment it appeared. On X he posted, "Fighting at the White House, just re-entered the testing pool which lasted for about 2 weeks. Figured we'd keep everyone's options open." That single post sent fans into a frenzy. Despite his public retirement and the standard 6-month waiting period required after re-entering the testing pool, Jones is moving as if plans are already underway. It's a calculated move, bow out gracefully, then return only when the moment is historic. For a man who's already accomplished everything inside the cage, a fight at the White House in front of a global audience may be the last.
Jon Jones just got up and left after this Nelkins view. This has to be a joke. Surely Dana is going to have to strip Jon Jones, because this can't keep happening. Like, you're the heavyweight champion, it's your job to defend the belt. And if you don't want to defend it, then retire. It's so strange to me. It's strange how the UFC keeps defending him. He's still the heavyweight champion, but won't fight. And what is he expecting by going on all of these media tours when people bring up the question of Tom Aspinall? Like, he's on a media tour.
The most obvious and poetic matchup for that historic stage is Tom Aspinall. The UK interim heavyweight champion was left in limbo when Jon Jones walked away last year, just as the UFC was working to set up a unification bout that would pit the British powerhouse against the most decorated American MMA fighter of all time. But Jones pulled the plug, leaving Aspinall, who had earned his shot by demolishing opponents and carrying himself with composure, without the opportunity he deserved. Despite holding the interim belt, Aspinall found himself in the awkward position of being the best man standing with no one to fight. When Jones retired, Aspinall's title was elevated in name only. He never received the true validation that comes from defeating the undisputed champion. Now, if Jones returns, that validation could come in the most theatrical way possible. On the lawn of the White House, on the 4th of July, with Donald Trump watching from the front row.
We don't know the facts of what's going on, behind the scenes. We don't know what's been said from Jon's side or Aspinall's side. And I do give Aspinall the benefit of the doubt, believing that if he didn't think the Jon Jones fight was going to happen, like, he probably would have taken another fight. Where we're comparing it with the Chandler situation, it felt to me
names like Conor McGregor, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, Colby Covington, Sean Strickland, and Ilia Topuria have been tossed around. It's the potential clash between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall that continues to dominate the conversation. Kayla Harrison may now be the only remaining American UFC champion, and her submission victory over Juliana Pena at UFC 316 firmly cemented her status, but she doesn't carry the same global gravity as Jones. Her win was impressive, even dominant, but Jon Jones is a mythic figure in the sport, controversial, flawed, seemingly invincible. For all her skill and rising fame, Harrison's star simply doesn't burn as brightly a cast as long as shadow is.
He wants to hold a UFC event at the White House next year for America's 250th birthday. Not just any UFC event, he wants to hold a championship UFC event at the White House next year. And this got me thinking, what a perfect time for Jon Jones to come out of retirement and fight Tom Aspinall at the White House next year.
Jones's track record adds even more heat to the narrative. This isn't just a comeback from a brief retirement, it's a return from a legacy that's been tainted, exalted, scrutinized, and endlessly admired. He's been suspended, tested, doubted, yet has remained undefeated when it comes to what happens inside the cage. His win over Stipe Miocic in November 2024, though seen by some as a routine stoppage, was yet another masterclass in control. Jones knows how to win even when he doesn't need to, and in many ways, his absence after that fight left Tom Aspinall's rise feeling incomplete. Aspinall didn't seize the throne, he was handed what was left behind. Facing Jones in this context isn't just about a title, it's about legitimacy.
But let's start with why. So next year in 2026 is our 250th birthday. Because of that, Trump wants to make a huge celebration and he wants to make it unforgettable. So he was like, how about we hold a UFC fight in the White House? And UFC is okay with that? Oh yeah, Trump is good friends with Dana White, who is the boss of UFC. Back in 2001, Trump helped Dana White and let him use his casino, Trump Taj Mahal, to host a UFC event. No one else.
The exact narrative the UFC would likely embrace if the fight gets booked. Dana White has long praised Donald Trump for his unwavering support of the promotion, even calling him one of the first to give the UFC a shot on a major public stage. Now, with Trump offering the White House as a venue, that loyalty is being returned in spectacular fashion. Trump gets the optics American gladiators battling for supremacy on the most powerful lawn in the world. White gets the ultimate spectacle UFC as the centerpiece of a global political moment. And the fighters, they get a shot at making history in a way that may never be replicated.
To be able to go to the heavyweight division, take out everyone, and then take out the Jon Jones legend, you know, and then go back to even beating a few of these new school guys. Literally put Tom Aspinall as the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
Aspinall has said little publicly since Trump's announcement, but there's little doubt he wants to fight, and even less doubt that Jones, despite his cryptic language and so-called retirement, is fully engaged. This is no longer just a hypothetical. Fans believe it. Fighters are adjusting their schedules. The UFC is quietly laying the groundwork. The logistics may still be in motion, but in the eyes of the public, this fight is already real. And in some corners of the MMA world, that belief is all it takes to make it inevitable.
I would even say this, and I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I would say that Jon Jones ducked Tom Aspinall so hard that he went through self-destructive measures just to avoid a fight with this man. That's how good Tom Aspinall is, and everyone you're going to list off is going to get beat.
What's interesting, if not outright controversial, is how Jon Jones is being celebrated for potentially reversing a retirement that barely lasted a month, while other fighters are often criticized for flip-flopping on their decisions. But Jones isn't like other fighters. He's the anomaly the sport has never fully understood. He's never played by the rules, whether in the cage, in his personal life, or in the court of public opinion. He vanishes, reappears, dismantles, legends, walks away, then returns even stronger. He's chaotic, contradictory, and somehow still untouchable. That's what makes this fight different. It's not about rankings or records, it's about spectacle, symbolism.
Imposing an international fight week deadline. Right here and now, I'm imposing this deadline. And by the way, they announced that they're going to do a press conference tour for Canelo Crawford, and one of the stops is June 27th, the day before Ilya versus Charles. International Fight Week, 317. I'm imposing an international fight week deadline. An announcement must be made. A decision must be made. That's when the eyes of the MMA world are on the UFC.
Those who argue that this kind of spectacle is bad for the sport, that mixing politics and combat sports at such a high level compromises the purity of competition. But those critics haven't been paying attention. The UFC has always been political, from its early days as a banned, underground spectacle to its rise into the mainstream. From Dana White's outspoken friendship with Donald Trump to hosting events during the pandemic while other leagues shut down, the UFC has consistently thrived by walking straight into controversy and turning it into promotion.
Never seen fight that we wanted that we've then been denied. No different than the girl school that you're chasing and she's telling you no. Lose steam. This fight is a smaller fight now than it was 3 months ago. Aspinall versus Jones. By the way, I don't mean anything to be resurrected. One press conference, one Instagram live. I'm just sharing for you right now. Jones and Aspinall was not only hotter 3 months ago, it was hotter than that.
Dana White has been clear from the start that Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the fight he wants to make. Back in April, he publicly stated, "That's the fight we want to make this year," and insisted that if Jones planned to keep going, I have to face Aspinall. When Jones posted his lengthy retirement message online, Dana didn't buy it for a second. He told reporters, "That's crazy," and made it clear he'd do whatever it took to make the fight happen. On the Jim Rome show, White doubled down, saying that if Jones was returning post-MSG, it had to be against the British heavyweight. Dana's unwavering tone left no room for doubt. He wanted this matchup, not just for the division, but to resolve an unfinished narrative fans have been demanding closure on. And now, with Donald Trump announcing a UFC fight on the White House lawn for America's 250th anniversary, White has every excuse to be
those people
wasted a part of his life in the UFC.
There's going to be those people that'll say that Jon Jones is his own worst enemy, and Tom Aspinall's lucky that Jon got in his own way.
I just hope it stops. Like, I hope, okay, this is it. He's going to really learn his lesson this time. And no more. Dude, and again, we have no idea the pressure of being Jon Jones and a celebrity. Like, it's got to be insane. There's been so many great Jon Jones moments.
Tom Aspinall hasn't stayed quiet either. The British champion has been patient, waiting for Jon Jones to step up, but his frustration has begun to surface. In a recent interview, Aspinall accused the UFC of holding the belt hostage, suggesting that all the hype around Jones being the greatest was starting to sound more like myth-making than reality, and narrative crafted to shield him from facing real threats. "If he's that good, let's fight," Aspinall said, his voice cutting through the usual PR noise. He also recalled that after UFC 309, during Jones's post-fight speech, he locked eyes with UFC executives, and the energy in the room made it clear they all wanted this fight. But when it didn't materialize and Jones chose to walk away, Aspinall didn't mince words. He made it clear that while the promotion talked about legacy and marketing, he was still standing there, the best active heavyweight in the world.
Forever about it, and it's his fight. So you can't make people fight. Jon doesn't want to fight. Can't make him fight. We can try to make him fight. We can throw things at him that inspire him to want to fight, but figure it out.
Bisping offered a different perspective on the situation, suggesting that Jon Jones isn't simply reacting to Trump's White House announcement. There's something more personal driving him. According to the former middleweight champion, Jones still has something to prove, not to the fans, but to Tom Aspinall. Bisping believes the White House fight may have sparked Jones's interest, but the real motivation runs deeper. This is about Aspinall, about Jon Jones reaffirming that he's still the top dog. As a fellow Brit, Bisping has publicly backed Aspinall, but he also understands the Jones mindset, how Jones has always thrived on silencing those who dare to challenge his throne. For Bisping, this isn't just a physical battle, it's a psychological one.
But what did you make of it when you heard Jon calling out Alex of all people?
No, I think he does good because, Alex Pereira now he's like star in the UFC, everybody loves him, so he knows what he's doing, but I believe he should to fight against Aspinall, but I think he's a little bit afraid of him, because Aspinall is someone who can really stop him.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's what I think that he believes.
Conor McGregor responded to Trump's announcement with enthusiasm, posting "Happy 4th of July, USA. I would be honored, count me in." While McGregor isn't part of the heavyweight picture, his presence always creates buzz. His messages to Dana White about the possibility of fighting on the card have already spread across social media platforms. It's still unclear whether he'll appear in any official capacity, but just having his name in the mix adds even more spectacle to an already historic event. McGregor remains one of the biggest stars in combat sports, and any hint of his return sends public interest into overdrive. So guys, make sure to subscribe to my channel for all the latest updates. Thank you.